Hey guys, I want to talk to you about some serious stuff today. I want to talk with you a little bit about a very toxic cycle that you may find yourself in at some point in time in your life. And this refers to a psychological thing that goes on, I feel like, that I don't believe is talked about enough, maybe, or gets as much attention, let's say, when we talk about our dealings with alcohol in our lives. Probably on every one of us listening, if you're not a regular consumer right now, you might have had phases in your life where you've had a party phase, you've done your thing, you've used alcohol maybe to make yourself feel better, offset some things that were going on in your life, to deal, to cope, to do any number of things. Or even, like I said, if you're just going out to have fun, have a good time, you're still going to experience this after effect that I'm going to talk about today. And that very specifically is the after effect of anxiety. One of the things that happens to you when you get a bad hangover, or if you've drank too much the night before, is the day after, in addition to all the negative physical feelings that you're going to experience, of course, there's also an associated amount of anxiety and this like jittery feeling and this just uneasiness that takes over your body. And I want you guys to think about the last time you had a night like this previously, and you know what you were going through the next day, and just think about were your thoughts and emotions amplified a little bit more because you were hungover, because you had drank so much the night before, because you had all this alcohol in your system, your body was coping with it. I want you to very specifically focus on that anxiety factor here. And I want to loop that back and talk about something that I've seen many people around me go through. Very specifically, I've had some family members that have struggled with this over the years, and they get into this loop. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But family members, friends, myself even, I've noticed my own reactions in life as I've gone through this. And I want to talk to you about breaking that cycle. But what happens is you might have things going on in your life that are stressing you out, and just a lot of us will resort to something like alcohol. Like I said, I'm talking about that specifically today, the alcohol. But you'll use this as a crutch. You'll use this as a temporary escape from the way you're feeling, the things that you're going through, the things that are stressing you out. And it feels good in the moment when you're doing those things. You have a few drinks, or maybe you have a lot of drinks, and you get to just forget all about those issues, at that moment in time, or those hours in your life where you're feeling those positive effects. But the byproduct, as we all know, is that those stressors or those things going on are not going away. They're still going to be there in the morning, the next day when you wake up. So you're going to have to face them at some point. And the sad reality is that when you do face them the next day and you have all this alcohol in your system, you're coming down off it, you're into this mode of anxiety. You're into this thought track and this cycle that I'm talking about. And this is the beginning, or one half of the loop. And so a lot of times what'll happen is, like, you'll find yourself in this dip, and you've got all this anxiety going on, and in efforts to quell the anxiety or to squash it down or to control it, you go back for another drink, and you go turn to the alcohol again. You resort to those same things, and you have a way of getting yourself into this very toxic loop that you go through this phase of one day, feeling a problem, trying to fix the problem, but in the next day, you've ironically enough exacerbated the problem, and you're feeling the problem even more. You're feeling that anxiety even more. And, I hope in talking through this with you guys, you can start to see the loop that I'm talking about here, where it's like you're just in this constant mode of trying to feel better. Then you go into this dip of not feeling very good, having all this anxiety, and then in trying to calm down, you use alcohol again. You do more drinking. This is very apparent when you step back and look at it, but I know how hard it is when you're going through that. You're feeling those things. You want relief. Okay, you want to not feel what you've been feeling or going through. You don't want all that anxiety there. You don't want the stress and the pressures and maybe the depression and all these things that are coming along with it. But you're only shooting yourself in the foot, guys, when you allow yourself to get into this toxic cycle. And I know that we're all human. We're all going to have moments where we might have a period of weakness, where we might just want to go out and have fun and forget about the week's issues or the things that are going on in our lives that stress us out. And I'm not going to beat you up for those isolated instances, but I'm just talking about when you get into this destructive loop. And this is the one that tears me up, because I just see this person that's in this downward spiral and that has a progressively harder and harder time of digging themselves out. And that's very specifically one of my family members. she's going through right now. And it's painful to watch because you know that this person is only inflicting, further pains upon themselves. They're only digging themselves a deeper hole, and it's not getting any better. And I did a talk a few weeks ago about just trying to address your depression and anxiety. And one of the very, very big things that I've talked about in that video, or that recording rather, was just trying to stamp out and get away from this sort of toxic cycle that you might be going through, that you might be in right now. And part of it is like putting the alcohol to the side, letting it be, not using it at all if you can for a month. That was like what I was putting forward in this last talk that I did there, guys. But just know that continuing to allow yourself to stay in this cycle is only putting you further and further off from true relief. Okay. And true relief is actually when you address your problems in a real way, let's say, but you also are like freed up of this sort of chemical imbalance that you're putting yourself into when you use alcohol to squash down the day's anxieties, because they're only going to come back and be worse the next day after. And it is a hard thing to do. I know that it takes a lot of personal strength, guys, to be able to deal with your problems just purely mentally and like, of your own natural capacities versus trying to use these various crutches that we have all around us and that society says, dishes it up in your face constantly. Oh, use this, feel better, all this and that. It's something to have awareness on, guys. It's something to think about. And, like everything in life, it is really hard to break away from things. And like, let me just put it to you this way. If you're going through a lot of stuff in your life and you're using the alcohol to cope with those things, it's going to suck for a week, okay, when you don't have the presence of alcohol there to be that crutch, make you feel good, be your little, blanket to cry on at the end of the night kind of thing, and make you feel better in that moment. But if you can get over that hurdle, if you can get through that first week, I guarantee you when you get to the other side of that, you're in the clear. You're going to be in a position to truly make some progress towards your problems and your issues, whatever it is that you're dealing with. And that's just like what I'm trying to drive you guys towards, is like, get to the real root of the problem. Stop putting it off. Stop exacerbating it. Stop resorting to things like alcohol to make you feel better, because it's only a temporary tiny little moment in time that will do it. And by the way, it's not really solving anything. It's only making it worse. So very specifically, guys, I'm just talking about a way to rid yourself of anxiety in your life if you're going through that, if you're dealing with that, if alcohol was a part of that. I am just telling you explicitly, like I said, doesn't get talked about enough. Alcohol usage heavily contributes specifically to a reaction of anxiety in your body. You're making your own anxiety for yourself by doing this over and over again. You get yourself into a loop. It's very toxic. It's very unhealthy. And at some point in time, guys, you're going to need to break yourself of that, okay? You might not be able to do it today. You might not do it next week. You might not do it this year. You might go your whole lifetime as an alcoholic and you might die having never fixed it. But you know what? That problem is still going to be there. You're going to have to deal with this, I believe, in your next lifetime. So you might as well tackle it now. Face it head on, okay? Grow a little strength. Actually, you don't need to grow it. You just need to pull it outside, pull it out from your insides. You all have that inside of you right now as we speak. Whether or not you think you do or you don't, it's in there. I guarantee you. All right, guys. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Talk again real soon.